welcome to Edison Open House Future Transport 2021. Now, in this session, we are looking at the American Battery Metals Company, which has built a clean technology platform to recycle metals in batteries. And with me is its CEO from California, Doug Cole. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, battery cycling is a kind of obvious opportunity given the huge growth that's coming in battery demand for electric vehicles. Can you tell me some of the big challenges that recycling companies face?
There's a few challenges. This business is in its infancy at this point. We're not even 1% of what recycling of lithium-ion batteries is going to happen. What happened 2 years ago, only 100,000 tons of lithium-ion batteries got recycled in the world. 100,000 tons through our process is like $1 billion in revenue. So that means, and that was only 5% of what was available. So that means $19 billion worth of stuff got thrown into the ocean or put in the ground. People just wasted it and went away. In 2030, there's going to be 30 million tons. And again, remember I said 100,000 tons is $1 billion in revenue for us. So it's a huge business and it's in its infancy.
So how does your technology differ from the competition?
So we are environmentally and economically, we're environmentally friendly and we're economical. We can take product and turn it into real product, used product, and turn it into real product within 3 hours. Actually within a matter of minutes, but we say 3 hours. And that's it. We're the only green people that we know. There's people who are on the edges of this, but we're the only ones that are doing it. It's a first of its kind facility. It's first of its kind. We have an analytical and processing lab we're putting in there that'll have 30 plus people. That's a big lab for what we're, this kind of work. So we're very excited. That's what makes us different. Here's a couple other things. We realized 5 years ago or 3 years ago that we needed a couple things in our 5 things to be done. We needed a really good team to make this team work, make this company work. We needed great IP. We needed a relationship with the biggest cathode manufacturers in the world, like BASF. We needed a location that would take us and work with us, like Fernley, like Nevada. And we needed the strength and support of the US government for a couple things. We needed to change the language in the defense budget that they buy these critical materials from a US company first and points them right to our zip code because we're the green ones. They're not 1% of this stuff got bought in the US last year. Everything else has been bought outside. So there's a big opportunity in the US. That's what makes us different. We're one of the only US companies doing this right now. At this point, we're the only green one that we know. There's guys doing hard rock that are doing good jobs. There's the Albemarles that have done all their stuff for years, which they do a great job. But there's not enough. There's just not enough supply out there, and there's probably not going to be enough supply for the future at this point in time. So
there's some really strong drivers here. Obviously, the environmental one is major, but also, as you indicate, there's this supply problem because China has, virtually all of the market, and that is really worrying a whole lot of folks.
Yeah, here's a fact for your friends. Here's a fact for everybody. The Tesla factory in Nevada is the largest building in the world today. Largest building in the world. 200 more of those buildings are being built in the world today as we speak. They're all going to come in the next 8 years. 65% of those are in China. That's the issue. That's a big issue. It's a great opportunity for us. That's a big issue. 65% is going to be controlled out of China. That's a big deal. If you go back to 1944 and World War II, when we started stockpiling oil, they're going to have to start stockpiling all these metals too. If we're going to be a whole EV business in 20 years, they have to stockpile it. So who's going to stockpile it for the US? We're going to be one of them. That'll be us.
And there is a finite supply. I mean, there are not endless supplies of lithium.
Well, I think they would tell you that lithium is the 13th greatest metal in the world, basically, but it comes everywhere and it's in thin supply everywhere. But if you aggregate it all, yes, it would. People get it out of brine, which is a reservoir, like oil down deep. We've done that. People get it out of hard rock. People get it out of clay. That's the big thing. That's the big award we just won with the Department of Energy. We're setting the standards for extracting lithium from clay in ground, which is huge, which makes mining green. That's a big thing. People don't understand. They're starting to understand it. As the Rio Tinto people told me, we're the only dual tracking company at this point in time. We're doing both extraction above and below.
So in all your presentations, you're very keen to stress that you're not just a battery recycling technology company, but you're also a primary metal extraction technology company. And actually, that's going to be reflected in your new name, isn't it?
Correct. So we're changing the name to from American Battery Metals Corporation to American Battery Technology Company to better reflect who we are. But extraction and recycling are the same things. It's all about the resource. So if it came from a vape pen or a Tesla motor or just from the ground, it's you identify with the resource, and that's how you pull it out. That's how you divide everything. But it really ends up being the same technology, but it's differentiated by the resource that comes out. Like a milkshake, a chocolate milkshake's different than a one with crumbs in it. It's just you have to dissect these things. That's how we get it. We dissect them and we get to the metals.
So it's creating a true circular economy for
100%, which is why BASF picked us. Exactly.
Now, what are the environmental impacts that are associated with battery recycling in itself? So obviously, it's an environmental good to recycle, but actually the recycling process in itself can actually have some quite detrimental environmental impacts.
Horrible.
So how do you figure in this?
So how it's done right now, it's melted. So you take an Apple phone right now and they melt it and they get the gold and silver out of it. The rest of the minerals in there, because they melt it, are no good. They're gone. We don't do that. We take everything green. We don't melt the thing. It's all with chemicals and water, and it's done within 3 hours. And it's all, it'll all be approved by the EPA and everybody else. We are green from that standpoint. This is how we got our awards with the DOE, was because of this validation that we have.
So there's this huge growth in battery demand. So how should we think about the availability of spent battery materials for recycling? So how long will it be before you have significant volumes of new battery material from a recycled supply?
So as my CTO likes to say, the biggest mine in the world is the recycling mine. That's what it is. That's the biggest mine. You would say these Tesla cars, they'll say 7 years? I'll bet they go 10 to 12. I'm sure there's some 5 years, but I would bet the average is 10 years. You look at some of the cars that are just starting to come off, the Priuses and stuff that have been out there for a long time. Those batteries will start getting recycled and so forth. But I would think that, I have a golf cart that has a lithium-ion battery. It's guaranteed for 10 years. So I would say that by 2030, you're going to start seeing a ton more. The way they projected it, and I'll use my arms here, the way they projected it is 100,000 tons, 30 million tons. So you got to start building towards that. More and more stuff's going to come back. The biggest problem is the logistics. How do you get it? How do you pick it up? How do you move it? Is it hazardous waste or universal waste? Is it going to blow up? That's a big issue. That's one of my biggest issues that we're dealing with right now. And we're making a lot of traction, but it's a first of its kind. They haven't been moving this stuff for years.
So tell me about charge parks, which is something that you've become associated with.
So charge parks are, I don't know what it's like in the UK because I haven't been there for a couple of years, but basically you take your Tesla right now and you drive up and there's a Tesla thing you plug into, but they're not the only answer to everybody. There's charge parks all around the world. I think Blink has 5,000 just in the United States alone. And these are just places you pull up and charge to. Some of the people we're working with, and we made this announcement, a great company called Sickle. They're in the process of building 200 new plants as we speak, 10-acre plants, which they're going to be big charge parks. You'll be able to go recharge your car in minutes there, but they'll also store all the energy there too. So, but I think you're going to watch that over the next few years. It's going to morph itself and get bigger. That'll be a land grab too. That'll be a land grab.
So it's fascinating to hear you talk about this. What do you think the vision of your particular sector is?
Of our sector is that we're making the world a much greener place. Green's a big word, right? But a much more environmentally friendly place. It's very profitable business. We're taking stuff from above the ground. We're not taking things out of the ground. It's a very sustainable business. Everybody can use what we're doing globally. You could see us licensing our technology to other governments down the road, so they can build plants within their plants along those lines, those 200. I doubt we do anything with China directly, but everybody everywhere else for sure. I would say that if you looked at us, you would look at us as Switzerland at this point in time, that we're just neutral with everybody. We're here to help everybody. There isn't anybody we can't help, because we really believe this business is in its infancy and we all need to collaborate to make it right rather than fight with each other. And so we're not going to fight anybody. We're just going to work with everybody who wants to work with us. And that's proved to be successful so far.
You don't see this becoming a more crowded marketplace as more people see the financial opportunities here?
Well, so when people started really notice that we're in the recycling business, even though we said it for a couple of years, in January, February, when the EV business took off, in the markets, all the markets went up crazy. And then when they came down 70%, there was 50 more companies that said they're battery recycling companies, 50 more. But they just said it in their press releases. So if I go to Nevada today, there's 100 companies in the state of Nevada with lithium claims. There's 5 serious ones. The rest are just playing the games, which is very hard for your investors to figure out who's the good guys, who's the bad guy. I had somebody call me about a company the other day that said they were founders of our company. Total misinformation, total lie. Pumped their stock up 20% that day, though. They sold and were out. See, that's the problem that bothers me the most. That's that misinformation, because those shareholders just got, that wasn't fair. So hopefully I'm not going off on you here.
So how does your business solve the problems with the future of transport in a way that returns margins for investors? I mean, is this a big margin business, or is it about volume?
So we built this commercial pilot plant that's 20,000 tons per year. We're in the middle of building right now. That'll do about 200 million top line on commodity prices a year ago. We say we make about 65% on that. We don't in our pro formas and all our numbers and so forth, we don't take in consideration any tipping fees. That's how they pay you to take it and so forth. We're just straight above the board. We do produce in 5 years. We do start saying we're paying for it from people. We're going out and buying it, but we know that we're economical. We have the margins to be economical to pay for it. And also we're environmental. So people are going to use us from that standpoint. No one else is people are saying they're green, but they're not proving they're green yet. If that helps.
ESG has become incredibly important for investors as well as for consumers. Presumably now, ESG is also incredibly important to you. And I'm wondering, what are your top 3 ESG priorities?
Well, we're an ESG principal company, 100%. So 100% of everything we're going to do is going to get recycled, and somebody's going to make some money off of it. Whether we give away part of it or whatever, somebody's going to make some money off it. It's got to be clean. It's got to be cannot hurt the environment in any way, period. And it's got to be quick, and it's got to get this stuff back into the market as fast as possible. The 4th thing, though, is really educating the public on how this is really going to work, what part they can play in this. I mean, you think about it, a kid's got a cell phone at home. What's he do with it? A lot of people have extra cell phones in their house right now. So, I don't know what you do with regular batteries, but it's an issue. Batteries are an issue, but we've got to train people into turning this stuff in. It's money they're throwing away. It's not just a deposit on a bottle. A ton of material for us is $10,000. And if you melt it, it's $400. So just to give you an example, but the melting's quick, but the melting still can be 2 to 3 weeks, where we're 3 hours. Just FYI. And the melting's horrible for the environment.
Yeah, indeed. So I'm really fascinated by what you think as the vision for the future of transport, Doug. I mean, you've got this company, it has a unique platform. What do you see happening over the next, say, 10 to 20 years with transport?
Well, I think it's all going to go EV. I don't think gas and oil are going to go away, just, at all, just like horses didn't, right? But it's going to take its time. It's not going to happen as fast as everybody thinks it's going to happen, but it's going to happen over the next 20 years. I'd say by 2040, we'll at least in the United States, we'd probably be 80%. I would bet. They'll say it's going to be more than that. But the rest of the world's going to do it too. So the key is what's the rest of the world really going to do? And how fast are they going to come on? Sure, countries like Australia and England and Belgium and Europe and so forth, they're all going to be fine. But you go into some of these frontier markets, what are they going to do? They're barely getting water wells as we speak right now, but they might be able to jump. I got to tell you that it sure is quieter with the EV versus gas, but I don't see it. I think we all need to collaborate and work together. I think there's going to be there'll be some roll-ups here, basically, using that word, where guys are going to start picking up people. You have, public companies where they don't know what they're doing versus public companies that do know what they're doing. There's some really good tech out there. There's a lot of people vote for this with their heart, with their emotions, ahead of everything. They really do. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. They're all thinking the right ways. So what's going to happen? So when I'm 80, so I'm 65, 66 tomorrow though, by the way. So when I'm 80 in 15 years, I would say that 80% of the country is going to be fairly electric. I would think so. I would think most stuff you do is going to have electric. It's going to be easy. But what's going to happen to all the gas stations? What's going to happen to all the, just think simple, all the auto parts guys? What's going to happen to all those guys? Because I could see actually batteries becoming, as a service, basically as a SaaS model. You just drive it into the thing, the pack, and you're just on your way. You're just renting and going. You could actually see that happening in a while. It would make sense that, let's just put it this way, it wouldn't be surprising that happened. So you got to think about that.
That's a very interesting concept that the car is just the bit that you put around your battery. So in other words, the battery is the important thing, not the car. And I'm guessing that particularly being in the US, that what you'll see is the performance cars really expensive. And then you'll see the kind of the Diddy boxes built around, the battery will be the thing and the box is not that important.
No, the box isn't that important. You want some comfort. Have you sat in a Tesla? They're comfortable. They're really nice, but you can put your golf clubs in the front now that there's no engine there. Right? So no, that's a big thing though. There's more storage. That's a big thing. It's true. It's really true.
Well, there you are. All those investors watching. You've got to have somewhere to put your golf clubs. That is the future of transport.
You get my point though. Or, okay, my wife would have said, look at all the groceries in here. They're easier to get. Or Macy's or whatever. Yeah.
Doug Cole, it's been a delight talking to you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.